Andor is over. After the Season 2 finale aired on Disney Plus just a few short days ago, Lucasfilm has effectively tied the bow that is this story of rebellion. And frankly, I'm pretty sad about it. Between the 2 seasons of Andor and Rogue One, this is some of the greatest Star Wars storytelling we have ever received, regardless of which studio produced it. Luckily for us LEGO fans though, the show and the movie have been immortalized with some absolutely fantastic LEGO sets. I was planning on doing a combined top 10 list between the 2 properties, however, there really aren't that many sets, so I figured a ranking would be a better choice. So, without further ado, here are my rankings for every LEGO Star Wars Andor and Rogue One set ever made from worst to best. Before we begin, there are a few things I did not actually qualify for today's video. I elected to not include polybags as part of this list, nor did I do microfighters, and finally the buildable figures from Rogue One that are part of the CCBS system. Additionally, the 2019 Vader's Castle set did not qualify as well because technically it's based on the Vader Immortal VR game, and as much as I love that set and it is obviously important to the movie Rogue One, it's not really a Rogue One set. I hope those specifications make sense. Now let's dive into the countdown. Number 12. 75164 Rebel Trooper Battle Pack. I'm about to articulate something I wouldn't normally say for the last place set on one of my ranked videos. This set is good. I like this set, and frankly, it's a testament to how fantastic the list is here today that a set of this quality comes in last. So don't take this placement as me hating on this set. I don't hate it at all. I think it's very solid. The builds especially are pretty good for a small battle pack, and the 4 minifigures are nice as well. It just ultimately doesn't really measure up to the rest of the sets based on these properties, but by itself, it's a good product. Number 11, 75165 Imperial Trooper Battle Pack. Honestly, the build of this set is worse than the Rebel Trooper Battle Pack. However, I get battle packs for the minifigures, and this set definitely has more desirable army buildable characters than the Rebel Troopers. 2 normal Stormtroopers before LEGO hideously remolded the helmets, and of course, Death Troopers in such a cheap set is magnificent. The only issue I have with this set really is I wish I got more of them back in the day to have a pretty decent sized army. As it stands though, this is one of the better Imperial battle packs they've ever made, but the rest of the sets on this list just have much more interesting builds, which is why both the battle packs here are towards the back. Number 10. 75171 Battle on Scarif. If you've watched any of my LEGO Star Wars videos, you probably know I'm not the biggest fan of the location builds, especially when they're compared to the vehicles, which is why obviously the one location build based on either of these properties is relatively low in today's video. That said, as a pure display piece, I don't think it looks bad. LEGO had some pretty good design techniques here. The play value was also great and the minifigures were excellent as well. However, I just feel like this particular location could have been a much bigger set. When you compare it to the movie, it feels really small and insignificant. Not a bad set by any means, but my personal preference got in the way of this one, and I feel like it could have been a more epic set at the end of the day. Number 9. 75399 Rebel U-Wing Starfighter. This is the 2025 remake, which is very much so downsized when compared to the 2016 original. And I have complained ad nauseum on this account about how I do not like the downsizing trend with LEGO Star Wars vehicles. It is driving me nuts. However, when compared to a lot of other downsized vehicles, I think this one is actually pretty slick. Some of the proportions are compromised and the interior is quite awful. That's easily the worst part of this set, but it was a good deal for $70 here in 2025 and included 4 fantastic minifigures. Honestly, I actually like this set quite a bit despite its flaws. However, those flaws do keep it from being any higher. Number 8, 75434 K2SO. I honestly almost left this set off the ranking today because it hasn't even come out. However, I feel like with these buildable character type sets, what you see is what you get. And what you get here is a really solid K2SO that could have been higher if it weren't for a relatively poor head design. Honestly, it's just the eyes that really throw me off. I am not a big fan of how LEGO decided to create those. The rest of the build here is pretty spectacular though. I love all the shaping, especially around the torso. And it's also a seemingly pretty large build for $90 here in 2025, so that's great as well. And of course, K2SO comes as a minifigure too. So this is a good buildable droid set, but kind of like location builds, I just prefer vehicles, and I do think this one has a pretty critical flaw with an ugly looking head design. And ultimately, those factors prevented it from being any higher than number 8 in today's countdown. Number 7, 75152 Imperial Salt Hover Tank. This vehicle does not have a ton of screen time in Rogue One, but when it does, it has a pretty nice presence, and I think it's a cool looking vehicle overall. Additionally, in 2016, this was a $30 set, and I don't really feel like we ever get anything this substantial for $30 anymore. Finally, the minifigures are great, and there was a ton of interior space as well, and some good storage at the back. Is it as iconic as some of the other sets in today's video? Absolutely not, but this set is really darn good in its own right. Number 6, 75155 Rebel U-Wing Fighter. Now we have the 2016 version of the U-Wing. I actually think the new rendition is a little bit sleeker looking than this one. This one is awfully chunky in some odd places, and the proportions aren't entirely accurate. That said, the interior is so much better and the size is undeniable. Finally, the minifigure lineup is spectacular, which is what puts it over the top. However, I'm not including it as part of the top 5 because I think the sets above it just have objectively better looking designs. Number 5, 75153 ATST Walker. When this set came out in 2016, I thought it was the lamest of the Rogue One sets because it was just another ATST, a vehicle we saw fairly often from LEGO Star Wars. However, 9 years removed from this set's release, and it's really grown on me because I think at the end of the day, this is probably the best playscale ATST LEGO has ever made. It's just a great looking build. The price was fabulous at $40 back in the day, and it included Baze Malbus, one of the most devoted guardians of us all. Yeah, this was a fantastic set and worthy of the top 5 in today's video. Number 4, 75338 Ambush on Ferrix. If I were making a most underrated LEGO Star Wars sets list of all time, which could be a video at some point in the future of this channel, I think Ambush on Ferrix would be pretty high on that list. I swear nobody talks about this set, but it is so darn good. I love this. The speeder is a really good side build, but the main build of the dropship is beautiful. The shaping is spectacular. There is so much interior space. I think LEGO just absolutely knocked it out of the park. Additionally, you got 3 minifigures that are debatably the 3 best characters from the Andor TV show. Obviously, Cassian Andor himself, Luthen Rael, and Cyril Karn. I'm so glad they gave us a Cyril minifig. This is a brilliant set, and nobody can convince me otherwise. I adore this thing. Number 3, 75172 Y-Wing Starfighter. Pretty much the entire sentiment I just mentioned about number 5 on this list applies to this Y-Wing as well. When it came out in early 2017, I was like, oh, it's another LEGO Y-Wing, whatever. However, in the years since then, it's really grown on me because, like the ATST, I think this is probably the best minifigure play scale rendition of the Y-Wing they've ever made, which is one of the most iconic vehicles in all of Star Wars. Additionally, like a lot of these Rogue One and Andor sets, the figures are fantastic. Admiral Raddus did not have to be included here, but I'm so glad they threw him in. Same goes for Moroff. Both of those figures really put this set over the top for me. Number 2, 75154 TIE Striker. If you watched my video where I ranked all of the minifigure scale TIE fighters LEGO has made up to this point, you'd probably figured this set would be relatively high on today's list. And that's because I just adore this TIE Striker design. It is humongous, it is so smooth, the play features are great, the minifigures are great, This is an amazing set, and it could have been number 1 if it weren't for one of my all-time favorite Playscale LEGO Star Wars sets. And that set is number 1, 75156 Krennic's Imperial Shuttle. Oh my goodness. This is one of the best Playscale sets LEGO has ever created. The design is spectacular. It looks so good. The shaping is unbelievable. The way it opens up is amazing, and the minifigure lineup included is to die for. Additionally, I'm very biased because Director Krennic is one of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters, and this is currently the only LEGO set he has ever come in. It's also a massive build that only cost $90 when it came out in 2016. This set is pretty much just perfection. I absolutely adore it, and I think it is a worthy number 1 best set from Rogue One and Andor. But those are just my thoughts. Please comment with your own personal list down below. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. God bless. Bye-bye.